called for by the mayor. This meeting has only 2 agenda items. We don't have any formalities that we go through like we do on a normal meeting with Pledge of Allegiance and so forth. But Mrs. Tully would like to address everyone today. So Mrs. Tully, you have a few minutes.
This won't take long. This has to do with something that I don't think was very well publicized or people aware of. But there was a presidential proclamation that today is the 40th anniversary of the first observance for the Vietnam War veterans. I think it's important that we all take the moment. They're kind of like the forgotten veterans along with our Korean War veterans. And so I know we have a veteran in the audience. There was a presentation made up in Garfield Heights where they had a lot of gentlemen gather together to talk about their experiences and to listen. And I just think it would be nice if you know anyone who's a Vietnam veteran that there actually was a proclamation today naming it Vietnam Veterans Day. I didn't know about it. How did I find out about it? I'm married to a Vietnam veteran. So thank you to all of those who served. I wish there was a way to turn back the clock so that when you came home, you weren't spit upon or basically ignored. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Well, thank you. That's really good. All right, this evening, the first item of business on the agenda is ordinance number 26-2014.
I'd like to offer ordinance number 26, 2014 for its second reading by title only.
An ordinance providing for the 2014 annual appropriations.
Right, and that is, the attachment is what's laying in front of you. 2014 Finance Committee appropriations, everyone has it. And that's all I had.
Were there changes in this one compared to the one we got on Thursday?
No,
No,
that's the one that was emailed out to everyone on Thursday.
it's just a printed.
Because I'm not sure why we're continuing to send them out and print them. We could save
I was
some
asked to print
trees.
it out so everyone had a hard copy available to
I
them.
wanted to make sure everybody had a hard copy.
Well, this ordinance has been read, but I'm very disappointed that we aren't having any input from the administrative staff. The administrative staff has come up with a budget that if we did everything to the satisfaction of my department heads, we would be able to operate and still have a $2 million carryover, and we would be fixing roads and getting equipment and doing the things we normally do. And I'm not really happy with what's happening with our law department at this point in time with this ordinance. So what's your pleasure on this ordinance?
It's a
Because,
second reading.
It's a second reading.
all
Just a
right,
second reading.
we're gonna move on, and I don't have a number for
32,
the
sir.
32?
Your Honor, before we, Your Honor, Mayor, since.
Your Honor's fine, it's not funny. That's what a lot of people call the mayor.
I wasn't trying to be funny.
No, I know you weren't, but Rita laughed. It's not funny. It's not like calling me Your Honor. I think I've worked here 10 years. I should at least deserve that.
Mr. Mayor, we all show you respect.
Thank
I
you.
paused and stuttered with Your Honor because I'm an attorney and I normally only call judges Your Honor and I only use it in court. And that's why I caught myself. I didn't mean to cause a stir. Mr. Mayor, I think since we're at second reading, we should consider when we're going to have the third reading on this budget. If you don't want to set a third meeting, then I'm interrupting and causing problems, but it would seem to me that we should discuss that.
You will be moving forward with the third reading. If you continue to move forward, I will veto it.
That's fine. The question is, well, we have to move forward with something for a third reading. So when are we going to have the next meeting on the budget? Do we want to
Before
do?
we have the third reading, do we have any ability to speak towards some thoughts? There was some erroneous information in the Akron Beacon Journal today. There is some, information that I have provided that hasn't been reviewed. And I actually have, Ms. Hannikin had made the comment to me before we started this year that she thought she could work with me. I have some ideas of how maybe we can get across the stalemate with the legal department. When are we going to have the opportunity to talk about that before we go to a third reading? I think it's important that we recognize this is not one person's budget, one person's idea, that it is a collaboration. And some of the things we're doing can put us in a very precarious spot if we're not paying attention.
Jan, I'm more than happy to always talk about the budget at any time. If you reflect back 3 minutes ago, it was offered for second reading. The mayor didn't call for any discussion, and the mayor then began to call the next piece of the legislation, at which point I interrupted, I'll admit, and suggested that we pick a third reading. So we can discuss it at any time if you want. I don't have a problem with that. I'm not trying to squash discussion. I'm just trying to make sure that if we're only offering it for a second reading today, that was my understanding what the majority wanted, that we would at least have a meeting scheduled for a third reading.
I'd like to suggest that we have the third reading tomorrow afternoon at 2:30. We can do that?
That'll work for me.
Actually, you
Well-
can't do that at a public meeting. You need 24 hours advance notice to the
Okay,
public.
so we'll have it at 4:30?
I got to check my calendar. I didn't expect to be here on Sunday. Could we, how about,
5
can we
o'clock.
have some discussion though beforehand?
Well,
If
are
we
we
go
gonna-
right into a third
can we-
reading,
Do we want to do it as a third reading today, Jan? Is that what you're saying?
there's no collaboration here.
What?
Mr. Mayor,
That's,
and one suggestion would be is whenever the meeting is scheduled, a half hour, 45 minutes before, hold a work session and discuss it then.
Are you talking like in a work session in the side room? I think it's appropriate to have it on the floor. I think there's
Forever, yeah.
it doesn't matter.
no better time than now because I think there's a lot that needs to be put out on the table and discuss it. I mean, there's a push to stifle the talks of this, and I'm not really in support of that.
I don't think there's been a push to stifle talks, but
No.
Well,
Yeah, but we don't get listened to, and we are trying to bring this up over and over and over. It's one thing to be frugal, but it's another thing to limit what we do or to put our city in jeopardy without the expertise of our lawyers like we've had for years. And we have department heads that have asked to have things done, and they weren't even invited to meetings. And we came up among ourselves with the budget that was approved by the finance director and told that that budget would work, and it's not even being considered. Scott, is that true?
We have different budgets, and it's just a matter of how much this council and yourself decide on the final carryover. I mean, we have road projects that obviously probably need to be done sooner or later, and stormwater projects and other issues that some department heads had. So everyone was well advised as far as what we need to proceed forward. I wish that, obviously, there's a stalemate here, and if we continue on, and then if you do veto it, I'm going to have to get some type of legal opinion, whether it's from our law director or for the auditor of state, on how we proceed with this week's payroll. Because I know you have 5 days to consider a veto, and then it goes back to council, and then you need 4 people, I understand, to override that. So obviously, no one wants to see the city shut down. There needs to be some type of compromise. I hope that if there's some type of budget that's passed, that we can then go back and review that later on, make amendments to it. But to go back and do this and have a stalemate and then have a veto and come back to council, and again, that council might override you at that time, but if they don't, it puts me in a precarious situation on, do I pay payroll? And obviously, no one wants to see that happen.
Well, the suggestion is that we have a work session before tomorrow. I think the meeting tomorrow, I think that's fine. I don't have a problem with it. We have had 3 full finance meetings. Department heads have been there. There has not been any attempt to shut anybody down. If people have comments, they've been received, and not everybody's going to agree on everything. So let's just say we will meet prior to this final reading tomorrow and have a discussion. That's perfectly fine with me.
Well, we've had 2 readings now on this particular exhibit. We also had 2 readings on the original budget. The original budget is always work in motion. Something is put on there that can be addressed as far as something that would be acceptable both to the administration and to council. That budget has had 2 readings. In that budget, we have not everything that the administration wants and not everything that council wants. And as a compromise, I talked to you, Mrs. Hannigan, to try and move forward with the original budget so we could have a 3rd reading on that tonight. We won't have to shut the city down, and we can work in the future together to bring this to where it needs to be.
Okay.
In the meeting the other day, it was said very loudly and clear that we can always make changes to the budget to address the legal department. So if we pass the budget that was the first exhibit, the first one that was given out by Scott, it's not the budget that everybody's happy with, but the city can move forward. So why not have a 3rd reading tonight on that budget?
Mr. Mayor, we've already reviewed that with you. It is not a compromise to offer the first budget because it has the items in dispute in it. And so we're just going to go ahead and have a discussion tomorrow. That's
And
what I
shut the city down.
Well, no, sir, you're the one who are saying that. I have told you constantly, we can make adjustments. But you're the one who is threatening that, and it would be, if you did that, that would be your responsibility that you're trying to take at the disadvantage of all the departments and the residents. Because all this dispute about is the method by which we are going to build the law department and the accountability of the law department for the types of services that they're giving us. That's all this is about. That other stuff is
Well,
smokescreen.
it's more like,
Sir, I'm
no,
talking.
all right,
talking.
go ahead.
I'm talking. And since I did not interrupt you, and I'm going to say this, there is absolutely nothing that's offered as a compromise here. You're offering to do exactly what you want, and then we'll make adjustments that you can veto. What I'm saying is this. We can discuss this tomorrow. Mrs. Tully says she has some suggestions to work through this. I'm perfectly willing to hear those suggestions. I would like to work through it also. But we are not going back to the original budget, which doesn't resolve the issue that is at hand. So
And that issue is the law department.
the issue is the method of billing. That's strictly it. They're not financing. Everybody's getting funded. We have.
Well,
Sir, can I finish?
I was speaking. They
Well-
were never conference with. You supposedly talked to every department, but not the